In the days when the Persian Empire ruled the known world, power was displayed not only through armies, but through excess. King Ahasuerus, ruler of 127 provinces, summoned the nobles, governors, and princes of his empire to the palace in Susa. For 180 days, wealth was paraded openly: gold vessels, silver couches, royal fabrics, and wine without limit. This feast was not merely celebration, it was a declaration of dominance. When the 6 months ended, the king extended the feast for 7 more days, inviting all who were present in the citadel, from the highest official to the lowest servant. Meanwhile, Queen Vashti hosted a separate banquet for the women of the palace. She was not hidden, she was not insignificant, she was queen. As the final days of the feast unfolded, the king's heart was lifted by wine. In a moment clouded by indulgence, he issued a command that would shake the palace. Queen Vashti was summoned to appear before the king and his guests, wearing her royal crown, so her beauty could be displayed before the empire's most powerful men. But Vashti refused. The scriptures do not tell us how long she hesitated. They do not record her reasoning, they only preserve the decision. And that decision stunned the court. Her refusal was not interpreted as personal dignity, it was seen as rebellion. The advisors of the king feared that if Vashti's defiance went unpunished, women across the empire would follow her example and challenge authority in their own homes. What began as a private moment became a political crisis. The king was advised to act decisively. Vashti was to be removed from her royal position, barred permanently from the king's presence, and replaced by another woman more worthy than she. The decree was written, sealed, and sent throughout the empire, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which could not be reversed. And just like that, Queen Vashti disappeared from history. No farewell, no explanation, only silence. But that silence created a vacancy, and somewhere in the shadows of the empire, a hidden story was about to begin. After time had passed, the anger of King Ahasuerus cooled. He remembered Vashti, but remembrance did not undo the decree. Instead, a new plan was proposed. Young women from across the empire were to be gathered into the palace. They would be prepared, presented to the king, and from among them a new queen would be chosen. This was not an invitation, it was a summons. Among those taken was a young Jewish girl named Hadassah, known in the Persian court as Esther. She was an orphan, a foreigner, an exile. She had no royal blood and no political advantage. She was raised quietly by her cousin Mordecai, who warned her to conceal her identity in a land where being known could be dangerous. When Esther entered the palace, something unusual happened.
There, Esther.
She found favor, not only because of her appearance, but because of her spirit. The keeper of the women noticed her grace and advanced her above the others, giving her special care and guidance. For 12 months, the women were prepared, not merely adorned, but refined. Each would be brought before the king for one night. Most would never be summoned again. When Esther's turn came, she did not demand excess. She asked only for what was advised. And when the king saw her, the decision was immediate. He loved Esther more than all the women. She obtained grace and favor beyond them all. The royal crown was placed upon her head, and she was made queen in place of Vashti. The orphan had become empress, but Esther's coronation was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a greater purpose. Because the same throne that lifted her would soon demand her courage. Esther now sat on the throne of Persia, but her identity remained hidden. At the king's gate, her cousin Mordecai uncovered a plot to assassinate the king. He sent word through Esther, and the king's life was spared. The deed was recorded, but forgotten. Then a new figure rose to power. Haman, proud, ambitious, and filled with hatred, became second only to the king. When Mordecai refused to bow before him, Haman's anger turned deadly. He did not seek revenge against one man. He sought the destruction of an entire people. Through deception, Haman convinced the king to issue a decree that all Jews in the empire were to be destroyed on a single day. The order went out, sealed with royal authority, and Esther remained silent until Mordecai sent her a message that pierced her heart. He reminded her that her position would not save her, that silence was not safety, and that perhaps she had come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther understood. She fasted, she prayed, she prepared. Then she approached the king, uninvited, risking death. But the scepter was extended. Through wisdom and courage, Esther exposed Haman's plot, reversed the decree, and secured deliverance for her people. What began with Vashti's refusal led to Esther's revelation. One queen was removed, another was positioned, not by accident, but by purpose. Because history does not move only through power, it moves through timing.